So we wanted to understand, as far as an ITIL or IT service management framework is concerned, what kind of a certification path which has been defined for software engineers as a role for an organization. So what kind of a pathways that ITL or ITSM gives for a software engineer certification as a role? So do you have any kind of a, can you throw some light on that?
This is a question which is very close to my heart. I come from a software development background. I started my career as a software developer. So a lot of things that I was doing during my initial days, I can look back and say how things were and how it is now. And for me, when I started my career, a few of the things which we use right now were completely non-existent. We did not even see. The other part is there were a lot of things that were done which would come to us in a piecemeal manner. And we did not have an end-to-end view of how the systems we played with, how the systems and services were designed, were being consumed by the end customer. So this was a gap when I was doing my work. With that as the backdrop, what I would suggest for anyone who is in the software engineering career path, to look at ITIL in a very closed way, because whatever software is written to either design a product or to provide services in some form or the other, unless and until the developer has a holistic view of how it is being implemented on the ground, they will not be able to write the right kind of code to deliver those services. There will always be gaps. So I would encourage every software developer to dwell, or rather to jump into the ITIL bandwagon first and take at least a couple of certifications to understand how the code they write, the services they provision, the products that they come out with will be used, and how value is delivered, how value is co-created and delivered to the end customer. Without having that holistic view, things that we do might not be relevant, or things that we as software engineers do might not necessarily give the right kind of value. This is a broad brushstroke on the overall software engineering per se, but this is my personal belief, and I think unless and until you understand how products and services are used on the ground, you will not be able to do justice in writing them. Now, that said, the things that I would suggest from an ITIL certification standpoint is, one, the HVIT, or the high velocity IT, because like I mentioned in another conversation, things change on a rapid basis. The requirements from the customer, also the the macro business scenario keeps changing at a rapid pace, and there are so many new things that are happening. So our systems, the services and everything that we design should be able to adapt to the rapid changes. These developers, these software engineers should be able to build resilient systems which on an ongoing basis provide the right kind of quality and at the required speed on a regular basis, not once, but on a regular basis. So I would suggest that they look at HVIT first. That is one of the major things. Along with that, I would also suggest the plan, implement and control, PIC, because when we are talking about the services, we are looking at designing and deploying services. How do you deploy them? How do you ensure that the changes you made are the right ones and the customers don't experience negative issues of the change? How do you make sure that your release management is going the right way? All of these aspects they need to understand. They need to understand, and they need to understand well. Unless and until they understand this from a holistic perspective, they will not be able to do justice. I want to specifically stress a bit on this one. In many cases, a lot of organizations say that I've designed the code, now it is the responsibility of someone else. It doesn't work that way.
Correct.
Every team has to work hand in hand. We are talking of a DevOps world. Teams are working hand in hand. The software engineer should know how the product is released, what happens during release management, how can he make the job of the release manager easier, and the usage of the new release by the end customer very convenient without any issues. All of this has to be looked at. So the primary things that I would recommend are again HVIT and PIC. In addition to that, I would also suggest, if they have not understood and if they have not gone through the certifications, to look at our DevOps Foundation certification. And the overall DevOps culture as such, they need to understand. It is not just the certification, but it is more of the culture. How do teams work together? Every aspect of the ecosystem working together, how does that happen? We talk about that in the DevOps Foundation. They need to look at that. They also need to take care of things from a security perspective. So that is another major thing that has to be looked at. So as a part of our practice manager, there is the information security management that can also be looked at. And finally, for someone who wants to have a complete understanding of how things are being utilized and how the business is actually making money out of this, digital and IT strategy. Not many will go to that level. Maybe the senior software engineers might go to that level of digital and IT strategy to understand the organization strategy and bring it back to the rest of the teams. But other than that, the other four I would highly recommend. I hope this helps.
Yeah, I have maybe just to add, maybe I wanted to ask you, let's say we have the PeopleCert has launched practice manager certification on PIC and CAI. Over there are individual certificates in terms of the practices like release management, release or deployment management, or something which is more on the change management and the configuration management. So would you suggest, as a software engineer, the deployment management or a release management as a individual practice certificate will help? Because it talks about when they are working on the DevOps environment, and if they wanted to understand the role in terms of a release manager. So do you still feel there will be a certification aspects they can consider the individual practice certification? Do you have some? Can you just give some insight a little bit?
Definitely. What I would say is, based on the time available to them, they can either take individual certifications like release manager, change enablement, or IT asset management. They can do the one-day certifications. Or like I mentioned in the PIC, they can take the entire PIC module, which is a 3-day module. They can bundle multiple of these things and take the certification too. It is primarily based on the time availability. But correct. My personal view is that it is a non-negotiable certification. What I mean by this is, in this current world, if you are a software developer doing things, if you do not understand how your release manager is working on the release, how your change manager or the change enablement team is working on changes, and how it is managing the customers, if they don't understand these basic concepts, they will not be able to write effective code. Every aspect of the organization now has to work hand in hand because the stakes are that much more higher. Earlier, people could have gotten away with doing some mistakes here and there, but now the competition is so much more, and the competition is everywhere. So if you want to thrive, then you have to know this, and this is where the senior management should take active note and bring the software community onto the ITIL stream as well. The senior management has to understand this. They should not be saying ITIL is for a particular group in the organization. ITIL is for everyone. From the analyst to the developer to the IT to the business. Everyone should have ITIL certificate. Talk about value co-creation and value delivery.
Yeah. Thank you, Vivek, for this extended questions from my side.